I gave your number to my friend Liana, and I told her that you're the best sitter in town.
Hello, Connie? Yeah, I think she bought it.
Thanks, Parker. I don't think I'm going to be able to babysit for you anymore. What? Hello?
Carrie, where the hell are you?
She's at another babysitting job. She triple booked herself. I need you, Reese. I need you.
I have this bow in the back of my drawer. Hard for me to reach. Thank you. Oh, goodness.
About time, Carrie.
I'm sorry, I'm missing you. Class ran late. The baby's asleep. I'll be back before he wakes up.
Is the girl ready yet?
Another five.
Sometime today.
She finally passed out.
Good. When she's done with a nap, maybe you can take her to the park or something. Babysitters do that, right?
Yeah, some do. Do you mind if I lay down for a few minutes?
Yeah, as long as you keep an ear out. For fuck's sake, where is my model? Jesus Christ.
Hey,
Hey.
I didn't think you were gonna make it today.
Yeah, well, Jeff said that he would watch the baby and give me a break.
Oh, lucky. I have to hire a sitter whenever I go out.
Yeah, I'll be lucky if he doesn't give her jelly beans or something for breakfast.
Oh, you should hire Carrie. She's great. She's late sometimes, but I wouldn't trust anybody else.
I'll have to get her number from you later.
All right.
Ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Scene 2 sharpens this dynamic by showing how Carrie's reputation spreads faster than her capacity, with recommendations stacking up until she is cornered into saying yes when she means no, a pattern that mirrors how queer women are socialized to prioritize harmony over boundaries and to accept emotional or logistical overload rather than risk disappointing someone. The conversations are polite, efficient, and transactional, underscoring how women's labor is normalized and depersonalized, and how little room exists for them to articulate exhaustion without guilt. When Carrie turns to her friends Evie and Parker for help, the film shifts from individual strain to collective vulnerability, illustrating how queer community often forms not through grand declarations but through necessity, shared precarity, and mutual rescue. Evie's agreement to help feels pragmatic, but Parker's storyline introduces a darker, more disturbing layer to the film's examination of visibility and power, one that is essential to understanding its queer resonance. In the household Parker enters, the tone changes sharply, and the film refuses to romanticize or sanitize what unfolds, instead presenting an interaction structured by coercion, surveillance, and the misuse of authority. Read through a queer feminist lens, this scene is not about desire, but about how women's bodies in labor are policed and appropriated, particularly when age, class, or economic vulnerability is in play. Parker's discomfort, confusion, and fear are foregrounded, and the dialogue makes clear that compliance is extracted through pressure rather than freely given, reflecting real-world situations in which women, including queer women, feel compelled to endure inappropriate behavior because their livelihood, safety, or housing depends on it. For LGBTQ+ viewers, this scene resonates not as titillation but as recognition. The recognition of moments when queerness intersects with power imbalance, when the desire to be seen or affirmed becomes entangled with the need to survive, and when saying no feels impossible because the consequences feel too high. The film's refusal to frame this interaction as mutual or romantic is crucial, as it exposes how easily women's queerness can be exploited or misread as availability, especially by those accustomed to control. This discomfort reflects a broader societal unease with women's same-gender intimacy, which is often either erased or distorted into something consumable, stripped of its emotional truth. By presenting the interaction as unsettling and asymmetrical, the film challenges the audience to confront how often women's boundaries are dismissed, and how rarely queer women are allowed narratives of desire that are both autonomous and safe. Meanwhile, Carrie's frantic attempts to manage overlapping crises underscore how emotional labor compounds invisibility. She is so busy preventing disaster that she cannot process what her friends are enduring on her behalf, a dynamic familiar to many queer women who find themselves acting as fixers while neglecting their own emotional needs. The parallel structure of the film, moving between Carrie's logistical panic, Evie's reluctance stepping in, and Parker's increasingly unsafe situation, creates a tapestry of female experience that highlights how vulnerability manifests differently depending on context, but is always shaped by external expectations. Scene 1's quiet confession of mutual affection between Reese and Mrs. Carson gains new significance when placed alongside Scene 2's coercion, as the film contrasts two forms of intimacy, one that emerges from trust, mutual reliance, and emotional honesty, and another that is imposed through authority and fear. This juxtaposition is central to the film's queer argument, reminding viewers that queer connection is not inherently liberating unless it is grounded in consent and reciprocity, and that visibility without safety is not freedom. For lesbian and broader LGBTQ+ audiences, the film speaks to the long history of being taught to interpret attention as validation, even when it is harmful, and to the work required to unlearn that lesson. Women in general may see their own experiences reflected in these scenes: the pressure to be agreeable, the fear of speaking up, the internal calculations about risk and consequence, and the longing to be valued for who they are rather than what they provide. The film also critiques the cultural scripts that render women's same-gender intimacy suspect or sensational, showing how quickly it can be reframed as something threatening or shameful rather than tender or ordinary. That discomfort persists today, because women loving women destabilizes patriarchal narratives of care, desire, and dependency, removing men from the center and exposing how deeply women rely on each other emotionally. In this film, each woman occupies a symbolic role that reflects real-world pressures: Carrie as the overburdened caretaker, whose queerness is secondary to her usefulness; Evie as the mediator who absorbs stress quietly; Parker as the vulnerable young woman navigating exploitation while lacking institutional power; and Reese and Mrs. Carson as a reminder that connection rooted in mutual recognition can exist even within constrained circumstances. Their interactions mirror the ways queer women are often asked to justify their feelings, to downplay harm, or to accept discomfort as the price of belonging. Yet the film's emotional core insists that truth, connection, and visibility are not luxuries but necessities, and that naming harm is as important as naming love. By refusing spectacle and instead lingering on emotional consequence, the film offers a narrative that validates queer women's lived realities, including the painful ones, without reducing them to cautionary tales or fantasies. It invites viewers to reflect on the systems that make such situations possible, and to imagine a world where women's care is respected, their boundaries honored, and their love for one another allowed to exist openly and safely. In doing so, it becomes not just a story about a chaotic night of babysitting, but a quietly radical exploration of how queer women survive, connect, and seek authenticity in a society that too often asks them to disappear.